Once upon a time, there was a dog named Bimbo, a golden retriever who lived in a grand mansion with a very wealthy family. Bimbo had everything a dog could dream of: gourmet meals that filled the air with mouth-watering aromas, plush beds so soft it felt like lying on clouds, and toys that squeaked and jingled in every corner of his spacious room. His fur gleamed in the sunlight, thanks to his regular grooming sessions, and his days were filled with gentle pats and belly rubs from his loving family. He often lounged by the sparkling blue pool or ran around the garden, feeling the cool grass beneath his paws. Bimbo also enjoyed weekly trips to the dog spa, where he was pampered with luxurious baths, fur treatments, and massages that left his coat shiny and soft. He would return home feeling fresh and rejuvenated, with a new fancy collar to show off. Bimbo frequently visited the homes of other wealthy dogs, where life was just as luxurious. These grand mansions had sprawling lawns, elaborate fountains, and rooms filled with the finest toys and treats. He would play with poodles in perfectly manicured gardens, dash through marble hallways with dachshunds, and enjoy gourmet snacks at doggy parties where everyone wore shiny collars. In these circles, life was perfect for every dog, or so Bimbo thought. One day, Bimbo's family decided to go on a charity mission to help the less fortunate in a nearby slum. They packed food, clothes, and other supplies, and Bimbo, eager to explore, wagged his tail excitedly when they took him along. The drive to the slum was long, and Bimbo sat in the back seat, his nose pressed against the window, watching the city change as they drove. The clean streets he was used to slowly turned into narrow, dusty paths with cracked pavements and faded buildings. When they arrived, the air was filled with unfamiliar smells: smoke, sweat, and something sour that made Bimbo wrinkle his nose. His family handed out food and supplies to the people, but Bimbo, ever curious, wandered off. He trotted down a narrow alleyway, the ground beneath him rough and littered with broken pieces of glass and trash. Suddenly, Bimbo froze. In front of him was a group of scruffy, skinny stray dogs. Their fur was dirty and matted, their ribs showing beneath their thin coats. They were digging through piles of trash, their noses twitching as they searched for food. Bimbo stared, his heart beating faster. He had never seen dogs like this before. How can they live like this? Bimbo thought, his mind racing. He couldn't imagine a life without luxury, without a warm bed, and without delicious meals. Feeling uncomfortable, Bimbo stood taller, his shiny fur and expensive collar gleaming in the sun as he strutted around them. The stray dogs immediately noticed Bimbo's arrogance and began to mock him. "Look at the shiny dog," one barked, his voice raspy and sharp. "I bet he's never had to dig for food." Another dog, with torn ears and a scar running down his side, growled, "He's too soft. I bet he doesn't even know how to fight or survive." Bimbo felt a knot tighten in his chest. Their words hurt more than he expected. He had always thought every dog lived like him, pampered, loved, and safe. But here, in the slum, things were different. These dogs were nothing like the ones he knew from the fancy dog parties and spas. He looked around nervously, wondering if he should just run back to his family. Before he could turn away, a tall, thin black greyhound named Max stepped forward. His coat was dull, and he looked tired, but his eyes were gentle. Unlike the other strays, Max didn't mock Bimbo. He looked at him with curiosity. "What's it like where you're from?" Max asked softly. Bimbo hesitated for a moment. He had never spoken to a stray dog before, and it felt strange. But then, he started to talk about his life: the soft beds, the fancy collars, the endless toys, the warm baths, and the delicious meals that arrived at the same time every day. Max listened quietly, his ears twitching with interest. "That sounds peaceful," Max said after a while. "But our lives are different here." He began to tell Bimbo about life as a stray, how every day was a fight for survival. Max and the other strays had to scavenge for food, sleep in dirty corners, and stay on alert for danger at all times. Sometimes, they were chased by mean humans or other stray animals. When one fell ill, there was no one to take them to the vet. It was a harsh, unpredictable life, but the strays stuck together and helped each other when they could. As Max spoke, Bimbo's ears drooped. He felt a wave of guilt wash over him. He had always thought his life was the way every dog lived, but now he realized that wasn't true. While he was getting pampered at the spa, dogs like Max were struggling to find a scrap of food. Bimbo's heart softened, and he started to see the strays differently. Meanwhile, Bimbo's family, busy with the charity work, hadn't noticed that he had wandered off. But when they found him sitting quietly with Max, they were surprised. "He's made a friend with a stray," they whispered to each other. At first, they were hesitant. Max looked rough, and they weren't sure if he could be trusted. But seeing how gentle Max was with Bimbo, they realized that perhaps there was more to this stray than they had thought. In time, Bimbo's family decided to help Max. They found him a loving home where he had food, warmth, and care, much to the envy of the other strays who had once mocked Bimbo. Max's life changed, and he quickly adjusted to his new, comfortable world. But Max never forgot his past. He still visited the other strays, sharing food when he could and telling them stories about his new life. And whenever possible, Max and Bimbo would visit each other. They would run through Bimbo's garden, the soft grass tickling their paws, or sit under the trees, talking about their different lives and the lessons they had learned. Bimbo learned that wealth and comfort were nice, but they weren't everything. Friendship, loyalty, and understanding mattered just as much. Max, on the other hand, realized that kindness could come from unexpected places and that it was never too late for a fresh start. In the end, both dogs discovered that no matter where you come from, love and friendship are the greatest riches of all.